Alright, budget magic time. Playing some mono green Stompy in standard. Little short on lands, but we got news constrictors, we got Nissas. I guess we try it. We're on the draw, so hopefully we get lands. Or not. The forest, go. Well, we have more Nissas. Still not lands. Opponent plays a plains. Opponent passes. There's a land. So let's play News Constrictor. Opponent anticipates. Maybe this is blue-white control and not blue-white flash? I don't think blue-white flash usually has anticipate. Well, we get a News Constrictor. Seems like resolving a planeswalker would be good. Wandering Fumarole. Ooh. Alright, well, forest and Nissa. No negate. Alright, so let's make a token. Get in with News Constrictor. So this is probably Jeskai control. So the question for our opponent's going to be, can you deal with our planeswalkers? We're kind of fortunate to have lots of planeswalkers in this hand, and they're very good against control decks. Another land for our opponent. And passes. We get a forest. Well, let's attack with News Constrictor. Play a forest. Play a second News Constrictor. Make a plant. And pass turn. Alright, opponent glimmers. We'll have to see if they have a wrath. One to the bottom. And one to the bottom. So both to the bottom. There's an Ether Hub for our opponent. And passes. We get a holdout settlement. Well, let's tick up Nissa. Play a forest. And I think we just pass the turn. Don't really want to just swing into an Avacyn. I think our game plan here is hopefully defend our Nissa. Here comes Avacyn. Yup. Well, the question's going to be, does our opponent have, like, Declaration in Stone or something? They have an Ether Hub. Harness Lightning, a News Constrictor. Okay. Goes to combat. Goes after Avacyn, or Nissa. Well, let's block. Discard Woodland Wanderer. Discard Holdout Settlement. See if this leads to the blowout. Ooh, okay. Avacyn down. Opponent passes. We make a plant. Play a forest. Pass a turn. Well, this is it. Do we get the Nissa ultimate? That's what we've been playing for. Opponent has a glimmer. Well, this is a huge turn. If we ultimate Nissa, I think our odds of winning go up pretty significantly. Because we're going to have a ton of cards in hand. If they can find a quarantine field or something to get rid of Nissa, things are a bit more questionable. Opponent hasn't slammed anything yet, so maybe they actually don't have an answer. Anticipates. All right, we are close. Plays a land. What did our opponent find? Passes? All right, well, ultimate Nissa. We did not draw much of anything. Well, 1, 2. Play Duskwatch. Play a forest. Play a Loam Dryad. Pass turn. This leaves up enough mana to Blossoming Defense and activate a Duskwatch. Opponent very well could have a Wrath by now. Radiant Flames, X3. Well, let's Blossoming Defense our Duskwatch. Opponent negates. Well, let's activate Duskwatch. Get a Tireless Tracker. So we lose our board. But we play Tireless Tracker. Play a land, get a clue. Play Big Nissa. You got another negate? No negate. Untap a land. And let's just play defense on Nissa. This is another scenario. If we ultimate Nissa, the card advantage will likely just drown our opponent. And we don't want them to like be able to Declaration in Stone or Harness Lightning Tracker, then attack with Wandering Fumarole. We will certainly just ultimate Nissa this turn if we get the opportunity. and trust that we'll just be able to outdraw our opponent to win this game. There's a Nahiri for our opponent. Sure. Takes up Nahiri. Discards a Fumarole. I think we still just ultimate. Follow-up is... kill Tireless Tracker. Alright, kill our Forest. Sure. This works. Now we just ultimate Nissa. Play Holdout Settlement. Draw a card from Nissa Emblem. Get a clue. Another land. And then play Verdurous Gearhulk. Put all the counters on Tireless Tracker. And we're going to kill Nahiri. And finish off with another Nissa while your opponent's tapped down. Make a plant. Pass turn. 7, 11, 12, 13, 14. Theoretically, we have lethal next turn with the second Gearhulk. That's assuming our opponent has nothing, which is unlikely. Is this the... Alright, Descend upon the Sinful. Clears our board, gets our opponent an Angel. Well, we draw another Gearhulk. So play the Forest, draw a card. Play Verdurous Gearhulk. Make it an 8/8. And then just clear shot the token. And make a plant. Pass turn. Oh, alright. Well, all of our counters are in one basket at the moment on this Verdurous Gearhulk. Which means if our opponent can kill it, suddenly we don't really have a good threat. Opponent passes. Well, let's crack a clue. Another Verdurous. Crack a clue. Tireless Tracker. Go to combat. Attack with both. Gotta play around like Blessed Alliance stuff. Alright, Emulating Glare. That does it. So make a token. Play a Noose Constrictor. Opponent anticipates. We are somehow outdrawing the the blue-white control deck with our mono-green Stompy deck. We're not winning very quickly, but we're drawing a lot of cards, which is kind of like winning. Opponent Void Shatters. Well, let's just play Loam Dryad. And pass turn. Opponent plays a land and passes. Well, let's Verdurous Gearhulk. There's Torrential Gearhulk. Gonna flash back a counter spell, I assume. Yep, Void Shatter. Then let's Tireless Tracker. Make a token. Pass the turn. We're almost to the point of ultimating Nissa again. We are running out of powerful cards, though, unfortunately. Wanderer. Verdurous. Verdurous? Oh, geez. We're down to one Verdurous Gearhulk. So we are going to have to find a way to win with the cards that we have. Opponent has a Nahiri. Takes up Nahiri. Discards a Blessed Alliance. We draw a Forest. Well, let's play Forest. Get a clue, draw a card. Noose Constrictor. Can we afford to ultimate this Nissa, is the question. We draw 10. But 10 what? This is our last Nissa, too? We could plus it and try to keep Nissa around. It's a little risky. Yeah, let's do it. If you get a chance to draw 10, you draw 10. If our opponent counters it, they counter it. Alright. Not bad, not bad. So, let's Verdurous Gearhulk. Opponent Void Shatters. And I think that's okay-ish. So we Blossoming Defense our Tireless Tracker. Clear Shot, kill Torrential Gearhulk. Kill Nahiri. Play Servant of the Conduit. Discard a couple of lands. Pass turn. Now it's about killing our opponent. They only have 3 cards in hand. We have many. Play a forest, draw a card, get a clue. Go on the big attack. Opponent has a Verdurous Gearhulk. Gonna flashback what? Emulating Glare. Well, let's Blossoming Defense. See how our opponent blocks. Alright, well. Crack a clue, pump up Tireless Tracker. Crack a clue, pump up Tireless Tracker. Play Duskwatch Recruiter. Play Loam Dryad. Pass turn. Opponent's going to need some Wraths. Also to play quickly or they could run out of time. Alright, Jace is not too troubling. And scries and draws. Well, let's activate Duskwatch. Get a Duskwatch, I guess. Play a land, draw a card, get a clue. Send everything at our opponent. Leave back the plants. Opponent has Stasis Snare. Hits our Tireless Tracker. Opponent drops to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, play a Duskwatch. Play a Servant. Play a Servant. Pass the turn. So our opponent essentially has to have a Wrath here or they're dead. And we still have a handful of cards even if they do find a Wrath. Scries and draws with Jace. Puts it to the bottom. Plays a Fumarole. 2 cards in hand. Alright, let's activate Duskwatch. Oh, we do have a Nissa left. Okay. Put to the bottom. Activate Duskwatch. Get a Woodland Wanderer. Flip our Duskwatches. Play a land. Draw a card. Send everything at our opponent. Do they actually have a card that gets them out of this? Archangel Avacyn. Well, that is a card. I don't think it saves them, though. Alright. So they block here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so we should still have the win here. Well, Nissa's good in control matches, apparently. Unfortunately, I think things get harder post-sideboard. I guess we can bring in Creeping Molds and maybe just Clear Shots. Our Planeswalkers are good. Our Big Threats are good. Tireless Tracker's good. Maybe just go down Loam Dryad and maybe go 1 Creeping Mold. I guess it does hit a Gearhulk, but not an instant speed. Yeah, let's try it like that. Yes. So we gotta mulligan that. This is not a great hand. We'll put News Constrictor to the bottom. Alright, Forest, go. Forest and Servant of the Conduit. Pass turn. There's an Ether Hub for our opponent. Oh, let's get in with Servant. Play Duskwatch Recruiter. There's the Void Shatter. Play a Forest, pass turn. Another Ether Hub. Our opponent not only needs to win, but they need to win fairly quickly, is their other problem. We draw another Forest. Well, get in with Servant of the Conduit. Play Servant of the Conduit. Play a Forest, best turn. No Planeswalkers is making our life a bit harder. There's an island for our opponent. Passes. There's a Verdurous Gearhulk. Well, I mean, I think we do it. Stompy means slamming things. Alright, Void Shatter number 2. We get in with the Servants. Pass turn. This game is going a lot differently since we haven't drawn any of our good in control matchup cards, really. Another Ether Hub for our opponent. And passes. Well, let's go Wild Wanderer, or Woodland Wanderer. There's Torrential Gearhulk. Well, you can see how much different the game goes without us drawing Planeswalkers. And being on the draw makes it a bit harder too. On the play, we can sneak in a Planeswalker underneath our opponent's counters, much harder on the draw. Opponent gets in with Torrential Gearhulk. Well, let's try it again. Woodland Wanderer. Resolves. Alright, pass turn. There's a tap land for our opponent. And passes. Well, let's Tireless Tracker. Play a forest, get a clue. Let's pass for now. There's a lot of things that can go wrong here. Another tap land. Opponent passes. Well, let's sack a clue. Draw. Noose Constrictor. No land. Really wanted to land for that Tireless Tracker. Well, let's pass turn. Opponent. We got to try to make our opponent think that we have a Blossoming Defense. That's our best bet right here. Finds a Radiant Flames. Well, this isn't horrible. 1, 2, 3. Clear Shot, Torrential Gearhulk. Ooh, resolves. Oh my goodness. Well, does our opponent have a Wrath to go with it? That saves our Tireless Tracker and gets the Gearhulk out of the way. And our opponent does have the Fumigate. Well, let's see what we draw. A land. Well, play the forest. Play Noose Constrictor. Play Verdurous Gearhulk. We're back to being empty-handed. Yeah, 2-5. Well, 6-6 and 4-4. That works. 4-4 means both creatures survive a Radiant Flames, and 6-6 means at least the Verdurous Gearhulk gets through a Torrential Gearhulk. Opponent has another Fumigate. Well, we draw Duskwatch. Summary Dismissal. Well, our opponent's pretty much out of action, but so are we. And we still have not found a single Planeswalker. Opponent's going to start getting in with Fumarole. They know they're way behind on time, and that's an actual concern. So they're feeling the pinch to try to close out the game before they lose to their own clock. We're making it easier on them by drawing lands here. Fires up the Fumarole. Well, our opponent drew 3 Wraths that game, and we were in a position where we would have beat 2 Wraths, but the third one really got to us. This is when Clear Shot looks pretty bad. Yeah, we are definitely in trouble here. Another land for our opponent. So if our opponent can counter our threat, we're just dead. So there's Fumarole. Opponent gets in 4-1, or 4-4. Down to 3. Well, do they have the counter? Alright, resolves. Play a forest. Get a clue. Crack our clue. Get a counter. Play another Tireless Tracker. Pass the turn! Is that enough to keep us alive? We have 2 blockers for the Fumarole. How many removal spells does our opponent have? There's Fumarole. Goes to combat. Attacks. Well, we block with a Tireless Tracker. And trade off. Okay. Opponent has nothing? Well, we draw land. Get a clue. Crack a clue. Draw a card. And we're just going to pass the turn here. Really don't want to lose Tireless Tracker to Emulating Glare. There's an Avacyn. Luckily, we have this Clear Shot. To stay alive, staying alive. Oh, man. Things are kind of shaping up. Opponent passes. We draw Tracker, play Tracker. Opponent Void Shatters. Well, we play a forest, get a clue. Crack our clue. Get a counter. Get a Servant. Get in with Tireless Tracker. The second Avacyn is going to get us if they have it. Alright, Blessed Alliance. Play Servant of the Conduit. Pass turn. Maybe that attack was too greedy. My thinking was, we're dead to Avacyn anyway, so we should do something. Let's get in with Servant. Emulating Glare. Now, play Noose Constrictor. Pass turn. Still have not found a Planeswalker, and we're like halfway through our deck. Opponent passes. We get a clear shot. Pass turn. Opponent passes. Ooh, there's a Planeswalker. Play the Nissa. Opponent negates. Pass the turn. Opponent passes. Now let's pass turn. Opponent has so many lands that Creeping Mold doesn't do a whole lot. And we can technically discard it and clear shot at Avacyn. Or at least attempt to. Alright, Harness Lightning takes down our Noose Constrictor. This means a flash creature can get us. Ooh. Well, let's play a big Nissa. Summary dismissal. Sure. Well, our opponent's down to 3 minutes. We're still at 8 minutes, so the time game is very real. This is still game 2, remember. Did our opponent draw a threat? They found an Avacyn. Alright. Plays land. Gets in with Avacyn, and we are out of creatures, so that does it. But can our opponent win a game in 2 minutes 48 seconds? That is a big probably not. It almost makes me want to bring in more removal, just to make sure that that doesn't happen. Like a couple of plummets to kill Avacyn, maybe an Appetite for a Gearhulk. Although Gearhulk isn't that scary, because we can block that on the ground for a long time. Maybe just a couple of plummets, going down like a Blossoming Defense and a Duskwatch. Yeah, let's try that. Because, basically, because our opponent has played slow, they have to be the aggro deck now. And I don't know if they're well suited to be the aggro deck. They have to try to beat us before they run out of time. And our opponent is feeling that pressure. One of the downsides of playing control, oh, they go to 5? Well, with our opponent going to 5, and our hand being pretty solid, there's a chance we just win this game quickly with a Gearhulk off of our Servants. Inspiring Vantage for our opponent. Forest and Servant of the Conduit. Get some energy. Pass the turn. Port down, untapped. We draw land. Well, let's get in with Servant. Play a Servant. Play a Forest. Pass the turn. Opponent anticipates. We also want to be careful about overextending. That's one way we could lose in this amount of time, is if we dump our entire hand and our opponent can follow it up with like a Gearhulk or something that we can't deal with. So we want to be aware of that. Opponent has Radiant Flames. Alright, that slows us down. Well, let's play Noose Constrictor. Play the Forest. Pass the turn. There's an Ether Hub for our opponent. And passes. Well, we get a Gearhulk. Let's pass. We can't really do anything. I'm going to play defensively. Anticipates. We just can't risk, like, kill our attacking creature, untap, Avacyn, suddenly things go wrong. Noose Constrictor is one of our best ways of blocking Avacyn. We got a Blossoming Defense to protect it, a clear shot to take advantage of it. So it makes sense to play conservatively for now. There's a Glimmer. Because we're at like 7 minutes and our opponent's down to 1 minute 30 seconds, so they really need to find a way to kill us quickly. Opponent plays land. And passes. We get another clear shot. Pass turn. Is it Gearhulk time? There's a Gearhulk. See what our opponent targets. Glimmer. So let's see. How do we do this? 4, 5. So Blossoming Defense, Noose Constrictor. And let's let our opponent glimmer first. Opponent glimmers. Bottom and top. Then we discard a Verdurous Gearhulk. And then clear shot, Torrential. Opponent plays tap land. And there's a Linvala. Linvala's pretty big. Well, Blossoming Defense, Noose Constrictor. Combo! Clear shot, Linvala. And this time we might as well get in for 5, since our opponent's tapped out. Pass the turn. Opponent. Down to 23 seconds. Plays a Jace. Well, that's not going to help our opponent win the game quickly. Bounces Noose Constrictor. Well, we draw Forest, so let's see. Forest. Verdurous Gearhulk. Make it an 8-8. Pass turn. Opponent's down to 16 seconds. We're still at 20 life, so I think we're going to get the time win. So, lesson here is, if you decide to play control on Magic Online, make sure you have the ability to play fast enough, or you're going to run into trouble. News Constrictor, Woodland Wanderer, only a 3/3. Pass the turn. And our opponent's down to 2 seconds, and this should do it. I don't know what would have happened if that game went full course. I actually have no idea. I don't know. It seems like in that matchup, if we draw Planeswalkers, we're in pretty good shape. On the other hand, if we don't draw Planeswalkers, it's much harder because our opponent can just kill our creatures pretty consistently. But you could see in the first game, just endless Planeswalkers, ultimating Planeswalkers was enough to get there through control. And then if Game 3 continued, I don't know. I probably would have played differently. We were playing very conservatively just to not die because of our opponent's time situation. If we weren't playing that way, hard to say what would have happened, but the clock is a real factor on Magic Online, so something to be aware of.